Hi everyone, my name is Joon, and I live here in Poland. And today, I want to discuss about the election that's happening in Hungary this weekend. And it appears this is going to be a very significant election, not just for the Hungarians, but also for the European Union. But before we start, I do ask if you can please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And please hit that hype button so I can build this community and share it with more people. And so, with that said, and without further ado, let's get into it.
It's a European country that's home to fewer than 10 million people. And yet it's brought EU aid to Ukraine to a halt, and its upcoming election has prompted a visit from the US Vice President in support of its far-right government. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán faces a serious challenge in the election from one of his former supporters, and he could lose power for the first time since 2010. So why is Hungary's election being watched so closely, both inside and outside the country? For the latest on this and all the world's top news stories, don't forget to subscribe to AFP. The outcome of Hungary's general election may well be decided in rural villages like this one. Posters for the candidates are up, but in this traditional stronghold of Prime Minister Orbán's Fidesz party, some are having doubts.
De váltani kell, állandóan váltani kell, mert különben nem lesz, sose lesz elszámoltatás.
Hát nagyon félek, hogy melyik lenne jobb, meg hogy melyikre is szavazzak. Hát előre nem tudom.
The vote is drawing attention far beyond Hungary's villages though. Lining up alongside Prime Minister Orbán, far-right politicians from across Europe gave him their backing last month, including France's Marine Le Pen.
Viktor Orbán, qui se présente à nouveau devant les électeurs hongrois le 12 avril prochain, est un visionnaire et surtout un pionnier.
And it's not just European politicians who've given Orbán their support. Just 5 days before the vote, US Vice President J.D. Vance visited Budapest.
What has happened in this country, what has happened in the midst of this election campaign is one of the worst examples of foreign election interference that I've ever seen or ever even read about.
But you're in Hungary. You're in Budapest. Aren't you technically interfering with the elections? I don't know. Am I the only one that's thinking like this? Because, okay.
I won't tell the people of Hungary how to vote. I would encourage the bureaucrats in Brussels to do the exact same thing.
But I don't see people in the European Union actually going to Hungary and campaigning for whoever politician that they are supporting. But J.D. Vance, you are. So, again, is this technically foreign intervening with a election? I don't know. Let me know in the comments.
US President Donald Trump himself have been highly critical of the EU on everything from trade to migration policy, aligning themselves with some of Orbán's key messaging on the campaign trail.
A brüsszeli bürokraták nem megállítani, hanem szabályozni akarják a bevándorlást. Brüsszel az európai keresztény civilizáció ellensége.
Respectfully, Prime Minister Orbán, you're part of Brussels. You can make change as well too, right? Your country is a very strong country where even the United States Vice President is going to go and start campaigning for you. So I don't understand the argument. And maybe somebody who's Hungarian, they can explain it to me, because I'm not trying to critique Hungarians. I'm not trying to even critique Viktor Orbán. I'm just trying to understand this, because if America is getting involved with this and we're hearing Russia's names popping up all the time with Hungary, then this is apparently a very important country. And this is something that, as someone who's interested in geopolitics, should be mindful about.
Orbán has been Hungarian Prime Minister for 16 years and has worked to build what he's called an illiberal democracy, gradually tightening his control over courts, the media and civil society. He's focused on upholding what he says is Hungary's Christian culture, gaining praise from far-right politicians around the world in 2015 when he ensured.
I mean, I'm not for open borders. I'm not for just having thousands, tens of thousands, or possibly millions of people who are undocumented to come into your country. I think there is a better way. I think there's a more pragmatic way to do this. But as a Christian myself, I don't know. I'm not for Christian nationalism. I don't know. I think if God or Jesus wanted to have a Christian nationalism, he would have done it. He would have been like, sure, Lucifer, devil, when I'm in the wilderness, I will absolutely bow to you and have the whole world bow to me. But that really wasn't Jesus's message. And though I am a Christian, what I read in the Bible is very different than these type of messages. These type of messages that Donald Trump is saying, like he's saying, I'm the chosen one.
China's made $500 billion. $500 billion. Ripped it out of the United States. And not only that, if you take a look, intellectual property theft, add that to it. And add a lot of other things to it. So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one.
And comparing him to Jesus Christ.
Here's what she said about Donald Trump. Watch this.
Jesus taught us so many lessons through his death, burial, and resurrection. He showed us great leadership. Great transformation requires great sacrifice. And Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. But it didn't end there for him, and it didn't end there for you.
It's hard to believe that's real. That is so vile. It's such a sacrilege. How could any Christian watch that and not feel revulsion? But to compare him or any president to Jesus has got to be a deal killer.
I know Viktor Orbán isn't saying that, but what I'm saying is that it does appear that this whole Christian nationalism is becoming a thing where it's not just the United States, but it's United States and possibly Hungary, possibly other countries as well too that I'm not currently aware of. And so I don't understand why we're trying to create this Christian dystopia where there seems to be a lot of hatred and evil and even death. I don't know. Definitely does not seem Christian-like. And it's definitely something that I would absolutely challenge back as a Christian.
When he ensured Hungary was seen as hostile rather than welcoming to migrants fleeing Syria's civil war. With migration less of an issue in this election, Orbán's Fidesz party is casting the EU and Ukraine as Hungary's enemies. These campaign posters show Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky with the slogan, "Don't let him have the last laugh." Orbán's illiberal project has long put him at odds with other European nations, and in 2022, the EU suspended billions of euros of funding for Hungary over corruption and rule of law concerns. Campaign group Transparency International now deems Hungary the EU's most corrupt country. The latest dispute is over Ukraine, with Hungary holding up a €90 billion EU loan meant to help fight Russia's invasion, much to the frustration of Ukraine's allies.
Eingehalten werden. Dies ist ein grober Verstoß gegen die Loyalität der Mitgliedstaaten untereinander und beschädigt die Handlungsfähigkeit und das Ansehen der Europäischen Union als Ganzes.
La Hongrie doit comprendre que le degré de patience des autres États membres est en train de s'étioler à très grande vitesse.
In January, a Ukrainian pipeline which supplies Russian oil to Hungary was damaged. Volodymyr Zelensky says it was hit by a Russian strike and will take time to repair. But Hungary accuses Ukraine of deliberately delaying the reopening, so is holding up the EU loan in return.
You have to understand where Zelensky is coming from. You have a pipeline that's going through Ukraine where this energy is being purchased through other countries, for example, like Hungary. But that money is using to support a war. So I can understand why Zelensky's like, you know what? I'm not really ready to start fixing this pipeline so Russia can start making more money and then use that money to keep attacking my country. There's logic behind that. But Viktor Orbán is butthurt because his energy, his cheap energy he was getting from Russia is no longer here. And he is butthurt because how is this going to affect Hungary? And how is that going to make him look? But the fact that he had 16 years to really figure out how to make Hungary better, more affordable, the living wage better. I believe Hungary is the third or fourth worst country with salary. And so cost of living obviously is going to go up. Obviously, energy cost is going to be going up as well too. So it's not who the enemies are. It's not even migrations. It's in the States, we like to say it's the economy, stupid. And that's probably playing part here as well, too. You did have 16 years to figure this out. And it's not like you had just dumb people around you. I'm sure you had some of the smartest and brightest people. Yeah, I'm sure you all had an agenda. But still, 16 years is quite enough time to be able to turn your country around, or at least find alternative ways to find energy. And the crazy thing is that Hungary was under the Iron Curtain, just like here in Poland. And the fact that he wants to, in my opinion, cozy up with Vladimir Putin, I don't know, that seems completely sus. And it doesn't make sense to me how you're going to be friendly with Russia. And I get it. You're getting your cheap energy there. I understand. But also with the United States as well, too. Because the whole propaganda, the whole rhetoric was United States is fighting Russia because Russia is evil and United States is for good. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not surprised about anything anymore. I think anything can happen. But this isn't clear to me. And I'm just, I guess on my end, what I'm trying to say is, how is this possible? How is Hungary willing to work with Russia and the United States when they're technically, like, United States and Russia are enemies, right? And again, back to what I was saying before, 16 years, yeah, that's quite a lot of time to be able to sort this out. But again, maybe that's just me.
And the Hungarian position is very simple. We are ready to support Ukraine when we get our oil, which is blocked by them.
Despite Russia invading neighbouring Ukraine in 2022, Orbán has stayed close to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And unlike other EU nations, Hungary has continued importing Russian oil and gas. Other EU leaders have voiced concern over Moscow's influence in the heart of Europe.
The Hungarian government has been doing the bidding for Russia within the European Union for quite some time.
Orbán's main rival in the April 12th election, Peter Magyar, has alleged Russia is supporting Orbán in the electoral campaign.
Orbán a hazánkba hívta a legképzettebb orosz ügynököket, hogy beavatkozzanak a választásokba, és újra elvegyék a legszentebb tulajdonunkat, a magyar szabadságot, amiért őseink az életüket adták.
Independent polling suggests Magyar is favourite to win Sunday's election. If he does, it will be the culmination of a journey which began just 2 years ago. Until early 2024, Magyar supported Orbán's government, but he went into opposition after an accomplice of a child abuser was given a presidential pardon, a case which sparked protests and led to Hungary's president stepping down. As leader of the TISZA party, he's made fighting corruption a key pledge, and his party leapt into second place behind Fidesz in 2024's EU elections. That year, he told AFP that his position as a former government insider was an advantage.
Ismerem a fiúkat, ismerem a taktikáikat, ismerem a működésüket, mind a szolgálatokét, mind a kormányét, mind a mögöttük álló propaganda sajtóét, és ezeket elég könnyen meghekkelem. Kihozták ezt a...
Magyar has pledged to carry out the reforms required to unfreeze EU funding, and, unlike Orbán, is critical of Moscow. On social issues such as gay rights, he's remained largely quiet. The current government's attempt to ban pride marches resulted in the largest ever turnout for Budapest's 2025 event. Sunday's election will be watched closely from Washington, Moscow and Brussels, with the outcome affecting Hungary's place on the world stage, while Hungarians will be voting in what for many will be a referendum on the 16-year rule of Viktor Orbán.
So it looks like the stakes are high for Hungary, and even for the European Union. Now, it might seem that I'm leaning towards a certain candidate, but again, I don't have even a cursory understanding of all of Hungary's politics besides what I've just watched and some other things I watch on YouTube. But I guess I'll give my own little 2 cents on this. It recently came out that allegedly Hungary was giving information to Russia.
A group of investigative journalists, including Michael Weiss of The Insider, have obtained another intercepted conversation between Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. The newly uncovered conversation suggests that Russian officials were capable of obtaining any information or documents they wanted through Hungary and its Moscow-based embassy. In the clip published on social media, Sergei Lavrov requests access to a document on the opening of Ukraine's accession talks, with Siarto replying, "I'll send it to you. It's not a problem." This new leak follows a story published by The Washington Post, quoting a Western intelligence source that Hungary's foreign minister has been constantly updating his Russian counterpart during the EU meetings.
What Viktor Orbán is saying, and again, this is what I read, he's looking into if wiretapping has happened. So, I don't know. That seems kind of wild to me. But also, I believe a week ago, they found a backpack full of explosives. I believe a pipeline with Serbia and Hungary.
Serbian authorities on Sunday discovered explosives planted near a pipeline in northern Serbia, which carries Russian gas into Hungary. The discovery comes just 1 week before Hungary holds its national election. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán called the incident sabotage and blamed Ukraine. Ukraine denied it and called it a Russian false flag operation designed to influence the Hungarian vote. Adding to the suspicion, a former Hungarian intelligence official said security circles had already been privately discussing a plan for exactly this kind of staged attack. Serbia's military intelligence chief said the explosives were made in the United States and authorities are hunting a suspect with military training.
The thing is, I noticed this about politics, not just in Hungary, but in the United States and other countries, where they find another party or people or organization or even a continent and make them the enemy and try to dehumanize people, which is wild to me. These are the same tactics I saw and witnessed with the Middle East, with the whole war of Iraq, Afghanistan. The United States media started to dehumanize these people, and it worked because we were like, well, these people, and just started dropping bombs on them. Kind of like recently with Iran and what's happening still with Lebanon and Beirut. But what I notice is that a lot of times people will say certain things because they heard it from a talking point or something that their side believes in, and they start to regurgitate or recapitulate these ideas. And I think that's something dangerous. And I think that's something we all do. I hope whoever Hungary votes for, they vote for the right person. I hope that they have all the information and is being displayed to them. Do I trust politicians? No. I personally don't. I think they're all corrupt, and I think they're all working on the same side, if you're going to ask me. But I'm a crazy son of a bitch.
He ain't lying.
But I do trust that people who are in these countries are going to make the right decision. I hope you guys make the right decision. Because at the end of the day, this is your country. And this is your leader who's going to govern over your country. And start asking the people who are trying to get in power or who are currently in power, how are you making my life better? What are you giving me that makes me want to vote for you? It's not will I vote for you, is how can you earn my trust to vote for you? So to the people of Hungary, I want to start by saying something important. I understand sovereignty matters. I understand that many of you care deeply about national identity, family values, and preserving your culture and traditions. Those are not small things. Those are fundamental to any country. I also understand the real-world pressures people are feeling. Inflation, the rising cost of living, energy prices, economic uncertainty. These are not just abstract political talking points. These are issues that affect families, business, and everyday life. I also recognize that there are legitimate concerns about the European Union. No institute is perfect. There are frustrations about bureaucracy, policy decisions, and balance between national independence and shared European cooperation. These are fair concerns and deserve serious discussion. But I would respectfully ask something. Please do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Pragmatism matters, especially in moments like this. Elections are not just about frustration or protests. They are about long-term stability, alliance, economic security, and the future direction of your country. I know you may not want to hear the perspective of an American, and honestly, I understand that. This is your country, your election, and your future. But from one citizen of democracy to another, I believe these conversations matter across borders, because the world is more connected than ever before. Hungary is an important country in Europe. Your decisions matter, not just domestically, but for regional stability economic cooperation, and global partnership. Whatever direction you choose, I sincerely wish Hungary success, stability, and prosperity. I hope for strong leadership, thoughtful decision making, and a future that protects both your sovereignty and your opportunities. So as an American, I genuinely wish Hungary all the best. And so thank you everyone for watching, and thank you for everyone who subscribes and supports this channel. And so with that said, and without further ado, let's get into it.